It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
And welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Breakfast. Even in the weekend, we find ourselves talking properties. Yes, 7 days a week, as heard on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Amazon. Well, I hope you had a fantastic week. You can put your feet up now, or perhaps not, if you are chasing property. It is a Saturday morning, September the 7th. And are you looking at properties with a view to doing a reno at all? Is that still happening in the market? It is for those with a bit of a vision and the ability to execute that vision, because it's one thing to say, look, I want to do a reno or I want to do a new build. But if you can't match the execution to the vision, then it's probably a waste of time. And a few days ago, we were talking about tiny homes with Louise in that two-parter. And a smaller space, of course, a tiny home normally sits on a trailer. But what about a tiny residential space like a garage to convert into a home and maximise every single inch of what is available? In other words, thinking outside the norms. Well, this morning for our Saturday, we're going to be catching up with Matt Williamson. He's from Willoworks. He's a builder, and he's joined up with an architect, Angus Wallace from Plico, to come up with this dream scenario for a client. So first off, I'll come to you, Mark, because I want you to do the scene setter. Tell us a little bit about Albert Park, which is where the garage is, and the scene set.
Yeah, so look, one of our clients came to us who was looking at some properties in the area. She was originally looking to do a renovation of an existing house. And then this particular property came up and she asked me to go and have a look at it. I went and had a look. It was a very small garage, and I was expecting originally for it to sort of, be going a whole length of the block. I thought that was just the back of the property, but when I opened up the roller door, and there it was. It was about 8.5 metres by 4.8 metres. I thought, what can we do here? Obviously, it being in Albert Park, the land value is quite high there. I was sort of trying to figure out, what could we do on this small space?
All right, let's go to the architect. What did you make of this, Angus, this block when you first saw it? Did you think, oh gosh, there's a lot going on here that's got to be built?
Yeah, hi Craig. Yeah, look, it was really a very unique situation there. It was a site that you really had to see to believe. It was equal parts exciting as a designer, thinking about the possibilities, but daunting, knowing that the clients had really firm a vision about what they wanted to achieve. It was really quite a unique opportunity that we embraced. We worked with the clients even before they'd bought the property. We put together a bit of a concept design and feasibility study, spoke to council, and then got basically some feedback that wasn't promising anything, but it kind of guided us in terms of what the expectations might be for what we could achieve. And then obviously from there, we went through each individual design phase and managed to get where we were today, thanks to a fantastic team along the way and a client who was really supportive as well, which is great.
So just on that, Angus, if the council had not approved, what was the likely scenario? Was she ever going to be able to develop it? I mean, it'd be a sort of a bit of a nightmare if she couldn't live in it, right?
Look, you're right, Craig, but in my time in the industry, and I've been working in Port Phillip here in Melbourne and also surrounding suburbs for over 20 years, so there's always a solution. Look, the land is too valuable just to kind of let sit idle. They'd paid a very good price for the vendor on this property, and obviously there was a fair bit of pressure to get something moving. Port Phillip Council's been very supportive. We looked at some of the elements, and they came back with some feedback that we incorporated into the design. And we really had to work hard to justify why it was needed. We obviously coming up with a solution that was a little bit different to what most other residential blocks might be able to provide. And thankfully, everyone kind of aligned. Even throughout the process, we got the planning notice of decision, but then a group of neighbours took us to the tribunal, to VCAT. Thankfully, we also had a really good discussion with them, with their planning consultant, who was mindful of trying to get a good solution for everyone. And we managed to work through that process quite amicably before we got to the final design.
Oh, good old neighbours by the sound of it. Let's go back to you, Matt, because prefabricated concrete slabs, now they played a bit of a key role, I understand, in the project.
So look, originally, obviously being in such tight space parameters, we were trying to come up with a solution where we could make the least impact to the neighbouring properties and obviously get this done in as timely as possible. So we're having a little bit of a think of the best form of construction and having to work within sort of, 10 mil tolerance to the neighbouring properties. We thought, I've always wanted to build particularly a residential property out of precast. And this was a perfect opportunity. So we found the perfect contractor to carry out those specific works because, they were quite specialised the exact way we wanted to do them as well. It wasn't just like a standard sort of precast factory. We basically needed stairs day one because it was such a tight site, only 9 by 5 metres. We needed stairs on day one. Angus and alongside our precast team came up with a way to do some cantilevered concrete stairs that were actually delivered in the panel. So therefore, day one, we had stairs. So it also sped the whole process up a lot.
Sounds like you had to sort of really planned out, but Angus, something like this, in terms of the space where it's such a premium, every little nook and cranny just has to be designed that much more, particularly when you look at areas like the kitchen and the rooftop terrace, which is pretty amazing that you were able to incorporate.
That's right, Craig. Obviously, the spatial parameters really pushed us to kind of investigate exactly the best efficiency to work with. We trialled a number of different scenarios. The stair was obviously a key element that needed to link the ground floor, the first floor, and the roof terrace. So we planned it out in a way that we could kind of separate the private zones with the bedrooms downstairs, including the bathroom, of course, with a little courtyard garden. Then upstairs through that magnificent concrete cantilevered stair, which Matt mentioned, which is a real feature of the house. It's not just an efficient element, it's actually a really dynamic element. So you arrive at the top of those stairs, you walk into the kitchen, you've got your open plan kitchen, dining, living space. We've tucked in a little powder room up on that first floor level as well, just for convenience. And then, of course, the stair makes another feature in that space as well before you head up to the roof terrace. And that's actually accessed via a really cool element, which is a glazed roof hatch, which is operable. It's power operated. You push a button, it opens up, and then you walk up to this roof terrace and look, you're on the rooftop of Albert Park looking out over all the beautiful Victorian roofscapes and towards the city, towards the bay. It's just a magnificent space.
So what is the total square meterage for the space that you ended up building?
Look, the site itself is 47 square metres and the livable areas, the habitable spaces, I think they came to around about 100 square metres in total. That includes the roof terrace. Internal area, I think from memory, it was around about 90 square metres. So we've roughly doubled the footprint, which is a fantastic result.
Yeah, that's what the owner was hoping to achieve, clearly. And Matt, this is a bit of a favourite of yours. Out of all the buildings that you've done, I think this one really does stand out for you.
Well, look, particularly a building of this size, and although the precast elements were sort of put together and it was built on site quite quickly, I think one of the main reasons why it was probably one of my favourites is because we were working, so close to the boundary and all those sort of things, and basically, we were having to be that sort of solution provider at so many different points throughout the project, and everything just came together really, really well, and just watching all these different elements come together, being the precast, the fit out, the external feature cladding and all that sort of stuff. So I think that's probably why, and also I've never built something in such a as Angus said, 47 square metres, it's not a lot of room, and to incorporate, a small courtyard and capture all this beautiful light and all these nice features, it was, definitely one up there with my favourites for sure.
Yeah, and just before I let you both go, one of the things that we talk about is the fact that we've got all these massively big homes. never used to be that way. You used to live in smaller homes, and this is a great testament to what can be done. You can have all of your luxuries. It's just more compressed, but still very, very stylish.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. It has turned out very well. Look, one of our agendas as architects is to try and, I wouldn't say educate, but just kind of lead people down the right path. Some people don't know how much space they actually need. And what I always encourage people to do is literally think about how much space they use in their house. And I think most people would be quite surprised if they're living in a larger house, how little space they're actually using. That also goes down to how much they're heating and cooling it and cleaning it and maintaining it. So a house like this is really like an apartment or a townhouse situated in a residential suburb like Albert Park, which is a beautiful low-rise suburb near the beach, near the city of Melbourne. It's a fantastic result. One of the beauties of this place is its convenience. It's within walking distance of cafes and shops, but it's got all the luxuries you might expect in any sort of kind of high-level property like this, which is great.
Also, you've been getting some attention in the building industry, nomination for Excellence in a Housing Award.
Yeah, we got nominated for the Master Builders Excellence in Housing Award, which is very, very exciting. We haven't been nominated for one of those awards before, so yeah, it's something we're very excited about.
Good on you. All right. Well, look, thanks for coming on to the Real Estate Breakfast on our Saturday morning, telling us about that project. Very, very interesting. Enjoy your weekend, Matt.
Great. Thanks very much, Craig. Same to you.
And Angus, thank you too. You have a great couple of days off, and nice to hear your story.
Thanks very much, Craig. Pleasure.
Why blow your advertising budget on ads people ignore? Connect your business to our niche real estate audience. It's a targeted way to reach the right people. We have over 1,000 episodes on real estate, the largest property podcast library in Australia. Our email address is myrealestatepodcast@gmail.com.
Unlock the secrets of real estate and stay informed about the latest real estate buzz with hot market trends, emerging suburbs, and hidden gems.
Canberra and Melbourne have been fascinating in terms of their market dynamics. What you normally find is Melbourne and Sydney price cycles follow one another quite closely. They're correlated, but that hasn't been the case. Melbourne has pretty much underperformed relative to all other capital cities.
Once I sold quite a little bit below what I'd hoped a year ago, the market was different, but I did get quite a few abusive emails from real estate agents after that, yeah.
I'll tell you what, the last 4 sales I've personally had over 3 million, they've all been from the Blue Mountains, every single one of them. And they're just moving from lifestyle blocks, acreage, homes that they built 20, 30 years ago.
And then we're seeing semi-detached cottages. Ashfield has also become a strong market where they've been in the high 1s to 2 for semis. And we're seeing a lot of those people sell and upgrade into houses to get into something larger.
We don't just report on real estate news, we take you to the source of the information. We produce more property podcasts every week than anyone else. We are your trusted guide for all things real estate. We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.